Hello and welcome. Today I thought I'd do something a little different and kind of just talk about the state of guitars and how guitars have evolved throughout the years. It's really a rather young instrument in the scheme of things, so I thought I'd kind of cover my perspective. This is just my perspective and my opinions on anything. But do chime in and tell me what your thoughts are. I was looking at my audience statistics the other day, and there's a lot of folks like myself out there my age and stuff, that talks about, that watches guitar videos in general, and I watch a lot of guitar content. So yeah, and I want to talk a little bit about the algorithm, the YouTube decides all. And really quick on that, it's kind of strange the way it decides which videos to promote and which videos to kind of lay in the background, I guess. My last G&L ASAT video, maybe people aren't interested in G&L guitars, and I get that's not going to be as popular as Fender or Gibson and things like that. But the amount of views compared to others, and even if I had a Les Paul piece that wasn't even like the most popular color that just blew up. Well, blew up as far as my channel is concerned, right? I get 1,000 of views, and that's a blow up for my channel. I don't monetize my videos. I don't do anything like that. So there's probably that goes into it too. I'm just putting this kind of stuff up for pleasure and for self-documenting purposes, and to share guitars and things that are unique about guitars that I get, stuff like that. But it's just really mind-boggling how things will get a lot of views as opposed to not getting a lot of views. And I know that influencers, real YouTube influencers, they're going to have a grasp on keywords and tags and whatever else. I don't know. I don't really care that much about that. But let's talk about the state of electric guitars. In 1952, the Les Paul came out, and earlier than that, I can't remember offhand, Fender had the Telecaster. So it wasn't that long ago, really. It's not like we're talking about ancient artifacts here. But what I've seen from when I was younger, getting into guitars, really wanting guitars, and throughout the years, is the proliferation of guitars. So when I was 12, 13 years old, trying to get my first electric guitar, it was tough. They were few and far between. If you could find an electric guitar, there was a music store that I took lessons from called Music, Dick Benson's Music. Tony Buffalo was my teacher, but he had an Epiphone scroll that he was trying to sell. He was going to sell me, but I couldn't afford it. And they had a few guitars hanging up. And then there was a place called Guitar Center, and they had quite a few guitars there. But it's not like there was no Guitar Center for us. The closest Guitar Center for me was Chicago, which was about 2 hours north, and kind of unrealistic. Although I did get a Marshall JTM from there, traded in a bunch of stuff to get that. Anyway, I digress. So what we've seen is, there's Japan started making guitars. Japan got into the game, and they started with some really crappy copies of things, and then gradually got better and better and better, to the point where Fender was licensing guitars out of the Japanese factories, and their knockoffs were becoming sometimes more sought after and more highly regarded than the Gibson or Fender equivalents. So that they caught up, just like they did with Toyota and Honda. At first, you're not going to buy some Japanese guitar or car, but they really do strive to get good quality. So hats off to Japan. But then those labor costs apparently started to get more expensive, and they started moving to Korea. where cheaper guitars, lesser quality guitars were coming from Korea. And then you have China, Indonesia, etc., coming on to the market. And what happened probably in the late 80s, early 90s is, and throughout even today, is that there's just tons and tons, thousands and millions of guitars being brought to the United States and UK and Canada and wherever, where when you go to a pawn shop back in the early 80s and mid 80s, you go to a pawn shop and they had Gibsons, Fenders, Gretsch, some Ibanez maybe, but now the whole wall of accessible guitars is pretty much filled with $99 to $200 or even less Chinese guitars that are just not great guitars, not great instruments. And the thing about that is, when you're a beginner guitarist and you get a piece of junk guitar that's action is really high and it's hard to get in tune because it's not set up correctly, it really discourages students from playing, from practicing, from getting better. So with that, American guitars, especially Gibson, even still, a lot of people say, Gibson guitars are very expensive, and rightfully so, that they are. I believe they're worth it. I believe a quality instrument out of Nashville from the Gibson, factory is great, but not every kid can afford a $2,000 guitar, nor should they just get one as a starter. I would go with a Fender player or Mexican or whatever. But the market became saturated with these guitars, with these cheap guitars and some mid-grade guitars and things, and so that hurts the market, and that leaves a lot of guitars out there for sale. And I think people my age and a little younger and a little older, still strive after those guitars. And you're always chasing your childhood dreams and desires. So you want to get that guitar that you never got, that you always wanted, and maybe now you can afford it after you've worked your life and have a little more income, disposable income or whatever. But that's not always the case for younger kids, I guess I'll say. When I say kids, I'm talking 12-year-old to 18-year-old. What are they thinking? What are their thoughts? And a lot of it has to do with the music that's popular. There's not a lot of guitar in popular music this last decade or so. I think you see that the guitar is kind of taken a back seat to electronic instruments and electronic production. And, the guitar soloist, the guitar hero, is few and far between now. And even the younger, quote unquote, the older guys that used to be the young up-and-comers, they're getting kind of older now. So it's nice to see younger players still pick up the guitar and really take to it. And so there's also not a big interest in learning something. I've experienced it too. We're all alive here together, experiencing this world in the same way in a lot of ways, and our attention span is not what it used to be. It's hard to trudge through a movie these days, right? 15 seconds, 15 minutes, and then we're done, we're out. And guitar takes a little more time and practice to do that. And when YouTube shorts and TikTok and 2-minute songs and videos and things, video games too. I love video games, but the short attention span thing is real, and people don't take the time that they used to work on one thing for a while. This is just my opinion. Tell me what you think in the comments. I'd love to have a discussion about it. But that's just kind of what's happening right now. Is there's a lot of different factors that are making the guitar less and less popular. And I want to urge the the parents out there to get your kid into a guitar or drums. Lord knows we need more drummers. Bass guitar. We need more bass guitars too. You know, music is something wonderful, and especially when you get an opportunity to play with other musicians, that's when the magic happens. And I still love that. I still do that. I like playing with other people. It's just really, music is something magical, and it shouldn't be taken for granted. And it's something great to share with your kids and try to encourage and get them into it. For God's sake, get them a guitar for Christmas, or a bass or drums, or something that will nurture their creativity. I mean, look, you can be on your phone 24 hours a day. I am. My girlfriend is. Everybody is. Everybody's on their mobile device all the time. Take a break. Play some music. Use your hand-eye coordination. Get your creative music creation flowing, right? So it's an appeal. It's an appeal to keep the guitar going and popular. That's all I really wanted to talk about today. So do please let me know what your thoughts are in there, and do me a favor. Have a great day.